At 5:30, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's a public hearing regards to the issuance of a bond. This hearing, let the record reflect that this is a public hearing being held pursuant to the Bond Issue Notification Act of the State of Illinois as amended. Notice of this hearing was published on June 27th, 2024 in the Journal Gazette and Times Courier newspapers of general circulation in the county. This is a hearing regarding a plan to issue not to exceed $1 million in aggregate principal amount of the county general obligation bond, also known as alternate revenue source, Series 2024. The proceeds of the bonds will be issued for the purpose of financing capital improvements to the county facilities. This public hearing is required by the Bond Issue Notification Act of the State of Illinois as amended. First business is, are there any written comments to submit? County, get any written comments to your office? Anybody else? Probably roll call for this, shouldn't we? Okay, roll call.
Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Wait a
Oh,
minute.
I'm sorry, this is.
I just
attendance.
Here.
this is for the public hearing for attendance.
Okay.
Public hearing for attendance.
Your Shook,
Here.
Watts,
Here.
Bennett,
Here.
Clayton,
Here.
Corey,
Here.
Doty,
Here.
Dowdy,
Here.
Friesland,
Here.
Mason,
Here.
McDevitt, Cox.
Here. Okay, I got ahead of myself. There are no written comments to submit. I'm assuming that there are any residents, taxpayers, or other interested people attending the hearing that have any comments.
I do.
Have you filled out that form? I get it now. Let's go down the list. Okay, first on the list is Mr. Stockton.
Question, is it $1 million, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay, is this, what happens if you don't pass the bond, vote on it and pass it, what happens?
We wouldn't be able to do the capital improvement funds, we wouldn't have $1 million, we wouldn't borrow $1 million in a bond.
You're gonna borrow, yeah, right. It's to borrow.
It was a bond,
Yeah.
we would issue the bond.
Well, what I recommend is to vote no, and see if you can find some extra money by cutting expenses and keep ourselves out of debt. There's plenty of that to go around, and keep our future generations out of debt. $1 million ain't too much. Really, I'm sure that there could be expenses cut over the next several months, and we could all stay out of that. Debt is a burden. Coming from the Latin word deberio, to bear a burden. And everybody has plenty of burdens right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vote no. And no, and no.
Next one is Mr. Donato.
Back in the early 90s, I used to attend the Truth and Taxation meetings here in the courthouse. They were held at 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. That's when the county board would meet. And the taxing bodies would go in and ask for an increase in the amount of their levy. And because the taxpayers were all working at the time, they couldn't show up. Lucky I was only 100 feet away and I could run over here for about 15 minutes, say my piece, and then go back. I said this a couple meetings ago. I think it's wrong you guys are having meetings early. Some of you want to get out of here early. Okay, I get it. I work long hours too. But the problem is it's 5:30. In order for someone to get here at 5:30, sign up and actually participate in the meeting, get comments, they'd have to get off work at 5, which a lot of people don't. They have to rush up here. A lot of them have responsibilities like families. They have to run home, they have to do errands or whatever it is they need to do that's essential to their day. So you guys decide to move it up to 6, and then you put the special meeting at 5:30. You could have put the special meeting after your regular board meeting, and and done that maybe at 7:30, giving the public a chance to come and listen and participate, but you don't think anything of it, and it just astounds me how there's no thought that goes into the taxpayer here. It's all about the government. What's good for us? Can we get home early? Well, a lot of you are retired. Not everybody. A lot of you are. I'm not. I had to get off work early. Rob had to take off work early. Les had to close the shop early. Charlie had to get here early. I'm sure Kevin had something to do. So I think it's wrong. It's wrong to have these at this time. You need to have them at times that are more appropriate so that the general public can come and say their bid. Last thing I'll say about it is, I don't know what all the capital improvements you're going to do, but we got all that money, that ARPA money, and half of it, or at least almost half of it, went into the windows of the building. I think there could have been a lot better spending. And to constantly borrow and borrow and borrow is wrong. And since today's tax day, you probably didn't know this, but in order to borrow money and satisfy these bond companies, you have to show that your EAV is growing over a 4 to 5 year period. And in Illinois, the EAV is actually shrinking in this county because the values are going down, not up. You can check the real estate facts on that. One of the reasons some of the prices are up is because the supply is low. But overall, property values have depreciated. My building's depreciated almost 70% since 2008. So I know that for a fact. So this is a bad place to invest in real estate right now. And I think it's crazy that the taxpayers don't have more of a say. Sooner or later, the taxpayer there's gonna come a point where it's gonna break. And then you guys, this place will be getting stormed because people aren't gonna be able to afford to pay anything.
Thank you. I cannot read this next one. Does anybody know who's?
You need glasses, Darrell. I'll introduce myself.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, how long is this bond? Is it a minimum, maximum? Do we have a maximum of $1 million, or is there anything saying that if you don't get enough, you will get more?
It is a maximum of $1 billion.
Okay, the question I have about that, I would think that parking lots would be something that would be budgeted every year through the county budget. Is that not a true statement? Would you not budget for that repairs and replacement or whatever every year for what you're saying? You don't do that. So when is it going to happen again? When you have to do repairs on parking lots and whatever else you're going to fix?
I don't have the answer for that.
You don't budget for it. It's not a non-budgeted item. I find that hard to believe. You have no idea what it's going to cost, so we're going to throw $1 million this year. If we need another $1 million 2 years from now, we just throw another $1 million. What happens is that when you get this down, everybody has to pay for that. People have to pay those taxes they came due today. And the point is that you had enough money, I really believe you had enough money that somebody looking would have been able to found it out of that ARP money, and you didn't do that. And there seems to be a pattern here, like it or not, and you're aware of it, that's what we do when we run out of money, we just go ask for more. I don't think that's the way you do business. This is the business. And if somebody's not budgeting and understanding what they got to do and just freely want $1 million at a whim, that's wrong.
Next is Dominic.
Are you having another one before the
We'll
next
have a
meeting?
county board meeting if you're wanting to address the county board meeting. This is a bond issue.
I'll do it afterwards.
Okay. Gaither?
Sure. Local government's really a hot mess in Illinois. So state government, the Democrats unilaterally passed another election bill without anybody really even knowing last week, so that the political parties can just funnel unlimited funds into primary campaigns of their choice. So if you step out of line in Springfield, you can just fund a primary opponent to whatever number you want. That's what the political parties can do. They also passed some other election reforms, all of it, because the other one that they passed a couple months ago was deemed unconstitutional because they tried to change election laws in the middle of the election. You know, it's often, it's not about, governance, it's less about what you're really doing, it's about how it appears. And when you move these board meetings, because it's dark outside or something, it just has this appearance that you want the people to be in the dark. When people, people are never paying attention, everybody knows how busy everybody is. But when people start to pay attention, they won't know anything, and then they can just make it up. And they can say whatever they want to about you. How corrupt or unethical or immoral. It doesn't matter if any of that's true or not, right? And it's because of the lack of transparency that they'll be able to do it. And if they can't access the information easily themselves, then they will be able to make up anything. And there is a lack of transparency problem in this county. It's not shared in other counties, but I'll tell you, most of the counties around here are pretty terrible. You look at Champaign County, they have 5-hour county board meetings that go on until like quarter till midnight. And so it's, at least Louisville don't do 5-hour meetings for county board. That's a small little plus, right? Good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Cummings.
Darrell, I got questions mainly. I do have some also information that I can share with you. And please correct me if I'm making anything wrong. I'm going by my understanding. And my understanding is that you guys got around $9 million. And as a businessman, for the meetings I was, you pretty well did it all the way. My understanding is, why wasn't some of that money used to do what you're borrowing $1 million for instead of borrowing $1 million? As a businessman, that's what I would have done, was pay what I needed addressed and then issue the money out as needed. So I don't understand this at all. Number two, and if you guys can answer me that, I'd like that at the end of my thing. Number two, how many of you know what a general obligation bond is? I kind of roughly touched on it when he mentioned it, and I woke up like that. How many of you know what it is? Other than the fact that it's a bond used for government loans. None of it. This is where you need to start asking questions. I know what it is because of the 1% sales tax that was issued to the schools. The general obligation bond is the grail of bonding companies. It is only, in my knowledge, offered to government entities that have the ability to levy property taxes. The general obligation bond means that if at any point in time, due to any circumstances whatsoever, that your income does not allow you to meet the obligation of payment, that you automatically can levy property taxes against the people without their permission to pay for that loan that you took out. Did any of you know that? So this is things, what a bond that can be used, which then holds the entity of government to only the revenue that they are generating, is called a special revenue bond. Bonding companies don't like that because they guaranteed their money with the general obligation bond. Because they know if you can't make the payment, you jack the price taxes up on us to pay for your mistake. That's what a general obligation bond is.
It is our intention to pay this bond off in 8 years, not 10 years, with sales tax. We have,
And I hope that's so,
we
Darrell.
have more than enough sales tax income to pay the bond off, and obviously in less than 10 years. So that is our intention.
But I'm saying that there's always the unforeseen, Darrell.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
It can happen.
It can happen. You know, the economy can fall on its face in this country right now, the direction it's going on, and then what you counted on could disappear. If you're guaranteed that with special revenue bond, and you know you can meet those obligations with it, and there's no worry about it, there's no reason to use a general obligation bond. Because you know you can make the payments, and you know you're gonna make it in 8 years. If that's the case, there's no reason for a general obligation bond. Because a general obligation bond is only something that attaches you to your property taxes to levy if you can't make the payment. So if you were guaranteed to sit here and tell me that you know that you're gonna make these payments and you're gonna do it in 8 years, there's no reason for a general obligation bond. And you should be able to use a special revenue bond. Okay? So now, other than what I said, I'm wrapping it up. Could somebody tell me why some of the $9 million wasn't used for what you're borrowing the money for? Could somebody tell me that?
It was used. I think the difference is, you're talking with, when you hear capital improvements, we made many improvements. We have a new elevator here, we have the jail elevator. There were other things that were needed that came out of ARPA. The thing is, it has to follow ARPA guidelines, and so we can't pave a parking lot. There are a lot of things we can't do with ARPA money because of the initial ARPA guidelines.
Okay, are you saying that what you're wanting to do that you're borrowing, because I'm trying to understand. Are you saying that the money you're borrowing didn't meet the criteria for the $9 million that you got? That you couldn't use it for what you're borrowing the money for?
I don't know, we don't know the whole list. I don't know if they are up to $1 million. That's one of those transparency things. I'm not sure at what point we'll have a whole picture of it, but I would assume of what's on the list that the answer would have to be, there are things on that list that we could not have done through ARPA.
Because the only thing, before I sit down, is that I would, as a businessman, anything that you're borrowing the money for that could have been paid with that money, I would use that first. Which may have meant that you could have borrowed a lot less.
Well, that would have been at the, oh Lord, I just lost the word. The citizens who were applying, the agencies within Coles County who were applying for monies, and absolutely deservedly so, and were following the ARPA guidelines. We couldn't just say, never mind, because again, that would be violating the ARPA guidelines. But yes,
So
I think there was...
a utility tractor to make crops in the city apply, if it was good for that?
I think that now is not the time to ask such a specific question, because I know that particular one, they asked for like 5, 6, 7 times what we ended up giving them. So there's more to that issue, and I think in general there's more to that issue. But certainly, I think the treasurer and the chair of the board ought to be able to decide, to tell you what specifically fits under capital improvements that we did. But I think that was not our reason for existence, was to do capital improvements and avoid having a general obligation fund. It was, we got this money from the government for ARPA. We want to do as much as we can for the community, and we went through a process where we itemized, where we went by what everybody voted on their own before we even started talking. So we had that process.
Okay, I appreciate it, and in closing, I would recommend that you check, if we're voting on this issue, which you probably won't, of a special revenue bond rather than a general obligation bond. If you already know if you can make the obligation, there's no reason for it. That's my personal opinion.
Some of us voted, against a lot of that stuff too. Not one of them.
What question on you, set the obligation bond, you said going for the elevator? This concern, you borrowed, you had an obligation bond that you took out a few years back that was supposed to pay for the elevator.
There are no other written comments or any people attending the hearing with any comments. I'll entertain a motion to conclude the hearing.
I got one other question, Darrell.
Yeah, what about my question?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So no one's gonna answer the question?
What's the question?
The question was, I thought the elevator that was getting repaired was paid for with funds from the bond that you took out a couple of years back. That was my understanding.
I'm not aware of that, and then the questions about the ARPA expenditures are better addressed in the ARPA.
This is not about ARPA, it's about
This is
bond.
about issuing a bond.
This is about a
We're
bond.
convoluting the two subjects, so I entertain a motion to
We're not
adjourn.
talking about
I
ARPA.
will second a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? A second. Motion by Mr. Friesen, a second by Mr. Dowdy, with roll call.
Public schedule a meeting early, then you don't even answer the question. Unbelievable.
Ready? Purdy,
Yes.
Shook,
Yes.
Watts, Bennett,
Yes.
Clayton,
Yes.
Corey. No. Doty,
No.
Dowdy,
Yes.
Friesen,
Yes.
Mason,
No.
McDevitt, I'm sorry, I know he's gone, Cox.
Yes. The record reflect this public hearing was concluded at 5:56 PM on July 9th, 2022. Just want to stick around till 6 o'clock.